everyone out there in Veridian. This is Colin Babbage, your Solar Program Manager, and I'm here to take you through a webinar. It only lasts about 15 minutes or so. And the purpose of it is to basically talk Solar 101, teach you guys some ways to talk solar to customers and associates alike, but also ways to just keep it simple and incentivize people to go to the next steps of getting an actual consultation. So, like I said, this will take about 15 minutes. If anybody wants to follow up with me with questions or concerns afterwards, please let me know. But let's get started here. So the first slides that I really want to show you is simply how solar works versus how we get our energy now. So right now, how we get our energy is a very dirty, polluting way of doing it. We're digging up fossil fuels, we're using oil, we're using gas, just unrenewable sources, but also it's polluting the planet. So we're literally paying to pollute the planet. So we want to change that trend, but also make it a lot easier for people to save on their utility bills, but also use the energy that the sun has naturally provided all of us with. So why go through this huge process of digging up all the fossil fuels when you can simply put panels on your roof and be creating your own energy from day one? Once you start it and turn it on, you're going to be benefiting from it. So this will take you through some of the specific benefits of solar, ways to talk about it, but also ways to create the mindset of really, what makes a good solar customer, a good solar lead, and a lot of it is expectations and mindset. So the first thing to talk to your customers about is that the fact that solar is, yes, it's popular, it's hot, it's new, but also it's the future. There's a lot of statistics out there that are saying that by 2020, solar is going to be the absolute dominant of all energy sources. So you really don't want to be left behind. The incentives that are out there from the state, local, and federal governments are only here for a certain amount of time. So you don't want to be stuck behind. You don't want to lose out on incentives. I kind of like to compare it to the flip phone. You don't want to have a flip phone out there because then you're always going to be made fun of. Hey, sorry about the ones that have the flip phones out there, but hey, the future is here and it's time to take the next steps. And simply, everybody is. Every 2 minutes, someone in America goes solar. And if you don't, eventually your neighbors will, or your cousins and your brothers will. So why not be the first person to get the biggest benefits because of the incentives that are available right now? And also, not only you're going to benefit yourself immediately, but you're also going to gain control and plan for your future. So what that ultimately means is that you're going to get yourself into a situation that's predictable. So as almost anybody can tell with the electric rates and utility companies and stuff, it fluctuates pretty tremendously from year to year, from season to season. Not necessarily the case with solar. With solar, you're going to have a nice, predictable either monthly rate or a monthly payment, depending on which financial situation you want to go into. But ultimately, you're going to be in control of it, and you're going to be able to predict exactly what your expenses as far as your solar is going to be for the next 20 years or, whatever type of agreement that you get into. Also, the other thing to be excited about and to talk to people about is their kids. If they have kids or just the younger generation in general, they're going to be way more interested in solar than possibly, parents and things of that sort. However, they're our future. We're depending on those kids. So if you can show them, the right way that you care about the environment, and you're saving money at the same time, you're going to set a good example for them. And hopefully they follow suit and they create, an even bigger buzz than solar is right now, and we have a lot more future solar success. But they're really, they're going to be the ones that are going to be buying the homes in the future, and typically they want solar. So it's a real good idea to obviously immediately save on solar, but also plan and get in control of your future. And part of that gaining control is gaining control of your actual electric rate. So one example that we typically show customers is the gas price example. So if on this webinar, however many people are listening to it, if I were to come to you and offer gas prices of $1 or 99 cents, and I can lock that in for the next 20 years, I would say about 99.9% of you would actually take that and run with it and be super happy with it, because the rest of us are now going to be paying $3, $4 for gas. Same concept with electricity. Okay, so here's a little graphic that shows you the increases throughout the years, and this is only the past 15 years. You look at a 30-year history, it's even more of a dramatic upswing. So what this shows is the national average for your electricity rate, which right now in 2015 and 16, it was about 13 cents per kilowatt, which most people in the United States are not paying even close to that, especially, the markets that we're in the East Coast and even out in California. I've seen some people that are paying 21, 22 cents per kilowatt, so literally almost double what the national average is. So anybody that's paying anywhere, above 13, 14, 15 and above, they're most likely going to benefit from solar. But at the very least, they should at least get a consultation to see what their potential rate they'd be able to get. Now, depending on what financial option you'll get will depend on what rate you're being offered or what monthly payment you're being offered. But ultimately, you want to always keep it simple and just say, hey, look, we don't know that right now. Put yourself in for a consultation. There's no risk involved. There's no commitment, and find out what the benefits could be for you, because ultimately they can end up looking like this. You have your utility example on the left and your solar example on the right. Now, of course, that solar example is with a completely locked-in rate, so it can vary. There's different options, but ultimately you're choosing predictability over, well, I don't know where the utility is going to be next year, but I want my lights on, so I'm going to keep paying the bill. So we don't want that experience anymore. We want to be way more in control of what we spend on electricity, but also being able to lock in a low rate. I mean, that's something that not a lot of other savings opportunities are out there right now, and here is one right now. So the next couple of slides, we're going to talk about how it actually works, how solar works, how net metering works. Again, always want to keep it high level, always want to keep it simple, but it's good for you guys to have an understanding of exactly kind of what the customer is going to be seeing as far as a proposal and what they're going to be told, so that you guys can have that communication with them as well at a certain level. So how solar energy works. We'll backtrack to how you're getting your energy right now. Right now, you're simply getting it from the grid. So I say simply, and we have to think about all of that fossil fuel, digging up oil, all that. That's where you're getting your energy from. So you get it comes from the grid, goes through your meter, and that's how many kilowatts you get accounted for and charged on your bill, and that's how you get your energy. So typically, 80% of the people out there won't really know exactly what's going on with their meter. And what I mean by that is when you go out there and you look at the numbers, how many people out there are going to actually be able to tell me what those numbers mean and if it's actually, the truth? So we are giving the utility the benefit of the doubt. Of course, they have their checks and balances and stuff, but with solar, it's complete opposite. You're going to know exactly what you're producing. You're going to know exactly what's on your bill. So diving into how you get your energy with solar, so one major difference is obviously instead of getting your first source of energy, so when your house needs to use up energy, instead of pulling it from the grid, it's going to pull it from the solar system. Okay, so if you're at 100% offset throughout the years, you're going to be able to get all of your energy needs through the solar system. Now, that's not always the case. To highlight just a typical 50% offset, let's say, that would work out like this. So in the summertime, let's say that your solar system produces 100, and I apologize for the weird looking numbers, but it's for purposes that we'll get by. So say that your solar system produces 100 kilowatts during a Monday afternoon or a Monday, but your house only used 50 of those kilowatts. Now you have 50 extra kilowatts that are going to get put into a bank, which is basically just giving you a credit of 50 kilowatts. Okay? So then in the opposite effect, let me just delete this drawings, and then the opposite effect, if you're most likely in the winter time, if you're producing 50 kilowatts but your house used 100, as long as you have those 50 kilowatt credits still here, you're going to be able to pull from that to make up for that missing 50 that you still need. Now, if you don't have any credits, what's going to happen is, and if you need that extra 50, you'll simply pull it from the grid, and you'll pay for that 50 kilowatts at whatever rate the utility company is charging at that time. Now, regardless, any energy that you have to pull from the grid, it's going to be less than what you had to pull before you had solar. So your electric bills, we can't guarantee savings, but typically they will be, your solar rate is going to be, or your solar payment is going to be less than what the utility company is charging you. So you'll see savings and you'll see a benefit. But also, if you ever were to reduce your usage by getting a new appliance and things of that sort, that can also benefit you because you could possibly build up more credits or have a higher offset. So that's an example of what net metering is called. And eventually net metering is going to go away. So what I mean by that is states and local, utilities and things of that sort are noticing that net metering is a huge benefit. People are being able to bank energy for free, and they don't have to pay to reuse it and things of that sort. But eventually those things will change. So if you have a system now, you're going to be grandfathered in, and you won't have to deal with any of those new laws or regulations and stuff, which is a huge reason of why going solar now is important, because you want to get ahead of those curves. Okay, so net metering and the credits and things of that sort all get tracked with your personal monitoring system. So like the utility companies are starting to do as far as breaking down your usage and providing you with data and things of that sort, solar is already ahead of its time with that. So when you get your solar system installed, you're going to actually get a monitoring system that shows you a report of the production every half an hour. So not only is it a very cool tool for the actual customer, they could show off their usage, or their production, they could show off their environmental benefits, all those, bells and whistles and good things. But the other aspect of it is it protects the customer, because what the solar company uses it for is to make sure that your system is working properly. So just like the utility company has to keep up with the wires and the telephone poles and things of that sort, if anything is going wrong with your system as far as like a panel clonked out or something like that, any necessary maintenance or repairs, one, it's going to come out of the solar company's pocket, so they're going to pay for it. The customer's not going to have to pay for anything like that. Plus, you get that protection for 20 years, regardless of what option you go with. Even if you do a cash purchase, you're still going to get that warranty for 20 years. Now, the other aspect of solar, other than the benefits and the savings and the environmental aspect, is the actual system itself. So a lot of people are worried about the aesthetics of it, the look of the panel, reselling the house with the panel. Those are some of the main concerns that we've been seeing. And the customers and everybody's roofs deserves to look good, especially if they're taking the time to get a consultation. And, we want it to look good. We want them to refer people to you and grow the business and grow the network. So one thing that is unique to us and our partners, Sungevity and Kriya Solar, is that we now have options as far as technology. Anytime there's a new technology that becomes available that's incentivized, we're going to be able to take advantage of it. So going through our company, you're always going to have the newest and the most updated technology as possible. And not only the technology, but the actual crew as well. So all of our installation crews have minimum 2 years experience, so they're not, they are master electricians, they're general contractors, but they also go through a vigorous certification process to even become an installer for us, which is really important because you want the system installed the right way the first time. You don't want to have to come back multiple times. You don't want to have to deal with leaks and things of that sort. But if there are leaks or if there are any issues, again, like I touched on before, it won't be the responsibility of the homeowner or the customer. Plus, these crews are going to be local, so it's going to be very easy for them to come to your home and do any upgrades or fix that needs to be done, and shouldn't take more than an hour or so, something like that. So it's really nice to have that extra confidence, that extra support from them. And plus they're going to be, like I said, local, so it'll be a pretty quick service call. To visually kind of show you the steps that the customer goes through, I think this is probably the best that you could look at and also show the customers to set expectations for them. So the associates and your guys' job is for the most part done after the welcome call. Obviously, we encourage you to be involved in the process from there on out, but not necessary. Once they get to the consultation and they show the customer the proposal and the customer is interested, there's savings available, then what we'll actually do is have them sign off on an agreement. And what that does is it will allow us to send a crew out to the home. So the crew will take measurements, they'll get up on the roof, they'll look at the electrical box, all the necessary components that we'd have to worry about when doing a solar installation. Then after the site survey is what it's called, is a couple of days later, the engineers and the site survey crew get together and they develop what's called a final design. The final design is kind of like the final step of what the customer has to review and sign off on in order to schedule their installation. It also triggers the payout for the associates. So just so you guys know, once the site survey has happened and the customer gets that final design back, once they sign off on that final design is what will trigger your guys' $1,000 payout. So it's always exciting to hear and see that your customers are moving through the process well, and eventually, hopefully very soon, we're going to have an updated tracking service so that you could see exactly where your customers are throughout the process, so that you could help follow up if there's any need to or anything like that. So hopefully we'll be able to announce that pretty soon, but we'll keep going on this, and hopefully that'll be on a later webinar. The next slides here in the next section is something that I touched upon before, is if you were to go to sell your home and or the benefits of selling your home or having a home with solar. So ultimately that section we want to keep simple, because you can't guarantee that it adds value to the home. There's all sorts of different situations that it can and can't, but ultimately what we want to discuss and relay to our customers is that we do have a dedicated team for that. So if we ever needed to work with lawyers or site assessors or real estate agents, the customer will have a support system that they'll be able to go to if they ever have any questions, if there is forms they need to fill out and things of that sort. So ultimately the transfer process and the selling of the home on our end will be pretty simple. So that's just an extra confidence booster to the customers that they're not going to have to really worry about that once it gets to that point. And then the next slide is simply kind of the icing on the cake. We always want to encourage, obviously, independent benefits and savings, and you're helping the environment as a homeowner, but also being a part of Iridian is a special, unique opportunity to provide a benefit and provide savings and provide electricity even to people in need. So every time a customer goes solar, we're actually transitioning into a light the world as well. But ultimately, the overall consensus is that every time a solar customer in Iridian, pays their monthly electric bill, we're going to be able to provide electricity through some source to a family in need. So you're not only providing benefit and savings for yourself, but you're providing it for somebody else in need just simply by going through solar. So that wraps up basically Solar 101. We're hoping to have a webinar series basically that will either go weekly or bi-weekly, so stay tuned for that. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me, and good luck with all of your solar endeavors.